as of recording this video, the Green Bay Packers still technically have Aaron Rodgers. He is not quite a Jet just yet, but we assume that he will be a Jet. And I think the question, and maybe even by the time this video is posted, he is. But I think what's interesting about this is the question I want to ask: are the Jets Super Bowl contenders? And do they have a real chance to win the Super Bowl this following year, given their roster? They nearly made the playoffs with just atrocious quarterback play last year, quite frankly, not just from Zach Wilson, also at times from Mike White. Even Joe Flacco wasn't exactly a star, although had some flashes with the Jets. But the question is certainly a fair one to ask of what is the ceiling for this Packers team. And that's what I want to kind of discuss, is talk about just their roster and where they can go from here. And I had an idea of how to do it. I'm bringing back my almighty algorithm. I love to talk about the algorithm. That's what we're going to do here, where I put my predictions for, let's just show what I mean. So right here, what you see next to me, this is my prediction for where they will rank in each specific positional category in terms of what tier. Tier 1 through 5, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. For example, the passing attack, I'm predicting first, and this is just throwing the football. So for Aaron Rodgers, I would not say he was a tier 1 quarterback last year, but I think the situation around what happened would, to me, be the main reason I would assume that he was not a tier 1 quarterback last year. I think he will be a tier 1 quarterback from, going forward in New York. I think he will be. Again, who knows of this stuff? It's just predictions. And again, I haven't gone through the list and given my 5 quarterbacks I'm projecting to be tier 1. Maybe when I do that, I'll change it to 2. But these are just, kind of where I'm thinking about it right now. The offensive line has some major question marks, I think it's fair to say. Not to say that they can't answer those question marks, because, listen, we don't know how much draft capital they're giving up. Maybe they have some draft capital to get someone through the draft. Maybe they're going to sign someone else through free agency. All we can really go off of is what we have right now, which is they could use some help, I think. I didn't think Dwayne Brown was great for them last year. He certainly didn't grade well. Again, how much of that is just him being 37 and not quite being what he once was? How much of that is maybe again, tough quarterback play can also make offensive linemen look worse, which certainly happened with some other guy, Laken Tomlinson, another guy who didn't have his best year but has had success with San Francisco. Maybe he turns it around. But as a whole, there's just some question marks in the offensive line, which is why I have it as the worst position group as of right now. But again, maybe they'll add a tackle, maybe they'll add a guard, and they'll be able to look a lot better. This is just where I have them right now. The receiving room, I have it as, I'm projecting for tier 3, and this could be tier 4. You really could argue it. I mean, they were 21st last year. That's right where the cutoff is between tier 3 and tier 4. I decided, they added Alan Lazard. I'll bump them up to tier 3, but it's a low tier 3. Garrett Wilson does a lot of the heavy lifting for this team, but maybe you have a return to form from Elijah Moore, and he can take that next step. I don't know. Maybe Denzel Mims finally breaks out. There's hope there. I keep assuming that Corey Davis will eventually be gone, but as of right now, he is on the roster, so maybe they keep him. I don't know. But, there's value in the receiving core. It's not a star receiving core. Also, the running back room, listen, Breece Hall looked like a tier 1 running back at times last year, but just, he got banged up. You always have to be wary of a running back coming off of injury. I like Zonovan Knight. I like Michael Carter, but tier 2, I think, feels fair. The defense is obviously very good. The running defense and pass rush last year were both very good. Kind of not necessarily relying on specific stars, more relying on just a plethora of different guys being able to play well. Obviously, Quinnen Williams, the 1 star, I would say, in that front 7. But then you just have Carl Lawson, John Franklin Myers, Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, all these guys kind of just being able to be solid pieces on that defensive line. And then I thought CJ Mosley finally was able to have a nice year and stay healthy, which is nice to see. And then the coverage, of course, if you watch this channel, my love for Sauce Gardner. He was PFF's #1 rated corner last year. As a rookie, that's just absurd. One of the better rookie seasons we've seen, period, out of any position. It was incredible what he was able to do. I loved him out of college. I was pounding the table saying this guy is better than you realize, even though he was a hyped up prospect, and he exceeded my expectations. That's how good of a rookie season that guy had. And again, they got Michael Carter, the defensive Michael Carter, in the secondary along with DJ Reed to make a sort of a good trio of corners. You also have, I like what Jordan Whitehead can do. I like adding Chuck Clark. I think he should be a solid player for them. So, secondary should be very good. The one thing I'll say, though, is that secondary, notoriously fluky. Year in and year out, can be very up and down. And that's just the question that you have is, as good as I loved Sauce last season, it happens where a corner has a really good year and then randomly has a really bad year. That just happens. And maybe it won't be him. Maybe it'll be a different guy. But you always have to be a bit weary of coverage just for that very reason. It's notoriously very difficult to predict. But that being said, these are my predictions. What does this mean? Well, how good can a team with this roster really be? And, I came up with my predictions. The WAR, or where teams typically the overall wins that have being in these tiers typically equate to, using a whole algorithm I created 2 years ago now at this point. You see how much wins each would equate to above replacement, meaning their total WAR would go to 13.16, which would be a championship contender. Wouldn't necessarily be a championship favorite, but would be pretty close. And what's interesting is it's very similar to what we thought about the Packers last year. Now, I think the difference is that they actually have like a Garrett Wilson who, listen, maybe Christian Watson will end up having the better career. It's hard to say exactly, but Garrett Wilson certainly had the better rookie season, and I would bet on having the better career personally. The offensive line is a concern for sure, but the defense should be very good. Very similar to what we said last year. Good running game. I mean, this is almost eerily similar to how we felt about the Packers last year. And, there's still time to improve this roster, but also maybe this time it'll just work. Like maybe last time the Packers, they had weird stuff that happened that failed. Maybe it'll just work this time. But are the Packers Super Bowl contenders? To me, doing this exercise, it shows me, yes, they are. They should have at least a decent enough receiving core to get the value out of Aaron Rodgers that the Packers weren't able to get last year. In the offensive line, hopefully they can patch it up enough that it'll be solid. The running game should be effective. This should be a really good offense. And if they compare that with the defense they had last year, absolutely, they could be Super Bowl contenders. To me, my biggest concerns, I think the two biggest concerns in this order would be, first, Aaron Rodgers isn't elite anymore. Guy's 40, and coming off of not his best year, not a bad year, but not his best year, in my opinion. I think he was like a tier 2 quarterback last year. I would bet on him bouncing back, but if he doesn't, then they're not going to I don't think they're going to be a contender next year, at least not a Super Bowl contender, maybe a playoff contender. And then the other thing is just coverage. Coverage is fluky. Will someone take a step back? Like, will Sauce Gardner's, have a sophomore slump type situation? Will DJ Reed not be as effective? It's possible. I wouldn't bet on it. I think those two guys are really good. I trust them as players, but it's possible. That would be my two major concerns. But are the Jets Super Bowl contenders? Sorry, Aaron Rodgers haters, but yes, the Jets are Super Bowl contenders. That's the way that I view it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on the Jets? Do you think they're contenders? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.